All right. It has been 9 days. So I put this to ferment last Sunday. Today's Tuesday. It's noon. Just stopped home for lunch. You could see the bubbles that are starting to form up on the top of the container there, and occasionally you'll see a bubble or two kind of. Yep, there goes one right there. Kind of bubble up from the sauerkraut. What that tells me is that the fermentation is active. The lactic fermentation has begun and is moving. You could definitely smell it. I mean, it smells like sauerkraut. And here I'm just taking a container that I'm turning the water. You could see all the bubbles in here. And this again is just an active fermentation going. And then all I'm doing is pouring this back in to make sure that we have a nice, consistently mixed brine for the sauerkraut. I'm going to go ahead and open this valve all the way up and let that go for a few minutes. And you can see the water starts to get more and more cloudy. The brine, I shouldn't say the water. It's not really, it's technically a brine. The brine is starting to become more and more cloudy, and that's very typical for the fermentation. You can see there's bubbles forming on the edge there. And eventually, what's going to happen is this whole top, all this water is going to be covered over by like a white, foamy. I don't even know how to describe it. You'll see when it happens. But it will cover it all over. So again, I do about 3 or 4 of these. So about a gallon or two, 3. There's really no specific amount. All I'm trying to do is make sure that the salty water is nicely mixed throughout. And I kind of pour it like in the middle on the rock. I don't want to pour it directly on the kupus. Because I don't want that salt that we put in there to get kind of washed out. Definitely has a pretty distinct sour cabbage aroma, but it's nice. It's kind of sweet. It's not really like, I don't know, I can't even describe it. Definitely rotten egg, but not so intense. And you could really see this stuff is kind of firing up, starting to bubble up a little bit. And that's good. Nice and slow. I got to get a temperature gauge down here. This is also where I'm going to dry some of my sausage and everything else that we're making this winter. I should probably get my wine in here too. Just make it a really good room. But whatever. For right now, this is in my basement. And I'm going to keep mixing. And as soon as, I'd say probably in another week, we'll start seeing that white foam on top, and then you got to clean that off. There we go. You got to clean it off and make sure that it stays clean. You can see how foamy and bubbly that water is, and that's lactic fermentation. So that's why I don't add any vinegar to it. Some people tell you to add vinegar. Some people tell you to add all sorts of other stuff. I don't add vinegar to it. Vinegar is a different type of acidity. It's an acetobacter type fermentation. It's what converts good wine into vinegar. This is a lactic fermentation, so this is strictly lactic acid. So, and the lactic bacteria is naturally found on the cabbage leaves and on the cabbage skin. So this is my last one here, and then I'm going to leave it for another couple days. I'll come back every couple days and mix it and check on it. You could definitely smell it when you walk into the basement. Eventually what I'm going to do, because like I said earlier in the other videos, I started this a little late. Once it gets fired up and is starting to get more and more sour, and when it starts smelling more and more, I'm going to take it outside and put it in the garage and just make sure my garage maintains above freezing temperature. What I'd really like to do is find another ring for this barrel and just leave it in here and just put an airlock on top of it so you can't smell it, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. So, all right, guys, that is it for the mixing of the brine for the sauerkraut. And I just put these one on either end just to keep a little bit of weight on it so it doesn't smell as much. I'm going to rinse this out and do it again in a couple days. Thank you.